Katvam shubhe shivakare sukha dukkha haste aghurnitam bhavajalam prabalurmi bhangai shantim vidhatum iha kim bahudha vibhagnam Matav prayatna paramasi sadaiva vishve Sampadayatya viratam tvavirama vritta Yavai sthita krita phalang tvakritasya netri Same bhavatpanudinam varada bhavani janamyaham dhruvamidam dhrita karma pasha. O beautiful, auspicious one, holding in thy hands pleasure and pain, who art thou? The waters of existence are whirled to mighty bursting waves. Is it, O Mother, to restore the shattered calm that thou art ceaselessly active in the universe? Unceasing in action, she dispenses the fruits of our deeds. Yet those whose karma is spent, she leads to liberation. May that Bhavani, the boon giver, ever bestow her blessings upon me. I know this truth. It is she alone who holds the rope of karma. Good morning. These are the first two verses of the thrilling hymn to the Divine Mother, composed by Swami Vivekananda, called the Amba Stotram, a Sanskrit hymn, very moving, composed most probably in November of 1898, when Vivekananda had returned to India and then had gone on a pilgrimage with his Western disciples to Kashmir, and returned to Belur Mutt, our headquarters, on 18th October 1898. And there he composed a number of hymns, including the famous evening hymn on the divinity of Sri Ramakrishna, called Khandana Bhava Bandhana, or Breaker of this World's Chain, and Om Hring Ritang, the Sanskrit hymn to Sri Ramakrishna, and presumably this hymn was also composed at this time. I love studying the hymns of Vivekananda because there we get a glimpse into his inner feeling, his deep, what he kept hidden from us most of the time in his talks, in his classes, even mostly in his letters. He kept hidden his innermost feelings. But in these hymns, they come out. And so we get an understanding of his attitude towards the Divine Mother through this hymn. It's a conception of the Divine Mother as the all-powerful, all-encompassing, all-embracing Shakti, or power. On the one hand, she is the all-auspicious doer of all good, and yet she dispenses both happiness and misery, both pleasure and pain. So the poet wonders, who are you, Mother? Who are you? It is she who is the doer. She dispenses the fruits of karma. She holds the ropes of karma. And she leads us to freedom when our work is done. There are two readings of this line, Akritasya netri. The one reading is, she does all actions and even shapes actions yet to be. The other interpretation is, she is the leader, the netri, who leads to freedom those whose work is done. I think I prefer this reading. So Swami Vivekananda clearly in this hymn was a deep devotee of Divine Mother and seeks refuge in her. But he didn't start out that way. As a young man, Narendranath, his first devotion was to Rama, to Sri Ramachandra. And he acquired a small image of Rama, and in a small room on the attic of his home, he installed that image, and he used to worship and meditate there, and as a very young boy. And then one day, he heard someone denigrating marriage. And of course, that awakened, that strengthened his monastic samskaras, those tendencies in him which were to blossom into his monastic life. So he thought, oh, but my Rama is married. So he gave up Rama and he went and got an image of Shiva instead, and he started worshiping Shiva. His attention focused on Shiva, and he even felt that he was one of Shiva's demons, who perhaps for some misdeed had been exiled from Shiva's realm and was stuck here in this world. And so whenever he was too wild and misbehaved too much, his mother would pour water over his head saying, Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. And he would always become calm when she did that, because he didn't want to be sent away again. Interestingly, later Sri Ramakrishna would give him a Rama mantra. But that's a little bit aside. He had an English education. He joined the English school, and he became a member of the Brahmo Samaj. He read all the Western philosophy, and he became a kind of a skeptic. He signed the Brahmo pledge not to bow down before any of the images of God, because how can God have a form? God is all-pervading. The Brahmo Samaj was, of course, a somewhat westernized reform movement within Hinduism, which affirmed the formless divine, but rejected the traditional forms of God of Hinduism. So then, at the same time, the young man was intensely seeking God. And that seeking, that intense yearning, brought him finally to Sri Ramakrishna. And he was drawn by Sri Ramakrishna's intense love, his purity, his renunciation. But he mistrusted Ramakrishna's visions. He didn't like all this Kali worship that Sri Ramakrishna was doing. And he refused to accept the Divine Mother. Now, Narendranath had a really charmed life as a boy, as a young man, very wealthy family. He was extremely popular. He was very intelligent, active. He excelled in music, in debate. He was the center of his circle of friends, physically strong. And then, as happens in our lives sometimes, disaster struck. His father, the wage earner, who was earned very well, died suddenly on the 25th February 1884, plunging the family into poverty. He had made no arrangements for his family. He had left the family in debt. And Narendra, of course, as the oldest son, was expected to maintain the family. And yet, he was to be the future Vivekananda. How could he go and get a job? He went out searching for a job, hit the streets, couldn't get a job, no food for the family. People were starving. And to make matters worse, his relatives turned against the family and tried to usurp the family property. So what is Narendranath to do? An interesting conversation between Sri Ramakrishna and one of the characters of the Dakshineshwar play, Hazra, who we know was dry like a piece of wood and a kind of troublemaker, but added a lot of interesting conversations to the record, including this one. Hazra says to Sri Ramakrishna, Narendra is again involved in a lawsuit. He had to file suit to regain his rightful property. And Sri Ramakrishna said, he doesn't believe in Shakti, the Divine Mother. If one assumes a human body, one must recognize her. And Hazra says, Narendra says, if I believed in Shakti, all would follow me. Therefore, I cannot. Sri Ramakrishna But it is not good for him to go to the extreme of denying the Divine Mother. He is now under Shakti's jurisdiction. And soon after that came a turning point. Narendranath was so desperate, he finally felt he's got to go to Sri Ramakrishna, who he loved and respected so much. And he thought, well, Sri Ramakrishna talks to the Divine Mother. Maybe Ramakrishna can pray to her for me. Because I don't believe in her, but he does. So he comes to Sri Ramakrishna and begs him to pray for him, that his family may be provided for. And first he said, I can never utter such a prayer. I can't pray like that. But when he insists, Sri Ramakrishna confesses that he has done so many times. He says, my child, I have done so many times, but what can I do? You don't accept my Divine Mother, so she doesn't listen to my prayer. It's an interesting, it's a sobering thought, where you have a spiritual giant like Sri Ramakrishna praying to you, but if you don't accept Divine Mother, she doesn't listen to the prayer. Well, then Sri Ramakrishna tells him, you go to the temple of Divine Mother and you ask her yourself for what she is. It was a Tuesday, which is especially holy for Divine Mother. So he told Narendra, go to the temple tonight, prostrate yourself before the Mother and ask of her any boon you like. It shall be granted. She is knowledge absolute, the inscrutable power of Brahman. By her mere will, she has given birth to this world. Everything is in her power to give. So Sri Ramakrishna's assurance somehow started working on Narendra's mind, and he believed it. And he felt that he's going to see the Mother. So when 9 o'clock came, Sri Ramakrishna sent him to the temple. As he was walking to the temple, he became overwhelmed with a kind of ecstasy and feeling that he was going to behold the Divine Mother of the universe. And let me read what he himself said about it. He said, my feet were unsteady. My heart was leaping in anticipation of the joy of beholding the living goddess and hearing her words. I was full of the idea. Reaching the temple, as I cast my eyes on the image, I actually found that the Divine Mother was living and conscious, the perennial fountain of divine love and beauty. I was caught in a surging wave of devotion and love. In an ecstasy of joy, I prostrated myself again and again before the Mother and prayed, Mother, give me viveka, discernment. Give me renunciation. Give me knowledge and devotion. Grant that I may have the uninterrupted vision of Thee. So he spends quite some time in the temple in ecstasy. Then he comes back to Sri Ramakrishna, his heart filled with peace and joy, and all his worldly troubles completely forgotten. So he comes to Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna says, well, did you ask Mother for money? And Narendra said, oh, I forgot all about it. What? Go back. Ask her what you need. Ask her for that money. So Narendra again goes to the temple. Again, he is overwhelmed by the vision of the Divine Mother. He doesn't see a stone statue on the altar. He sees the living Mother of the universe, full of compassion and joy and bliss, ready to grant him what he wants. And what does he want? Love, devotion, knowledge, renunciation, nothing else. And he comes back again to Sri Ramakrishna. Again, Sri Ramakrishna asks him, so, did you ask Mother for what you need? Oh, I forgot again. What? You so thoughtless? Couldn't you make that one prayer? Go and ask her. So the third time he goes, and he enters the temple, and he remembers, and he is overcome with deep shame. How can I ask the Divine Mother for such a paltry thing as a little money? It's like a beggar going to a king and asking for a few pumpkins. How could I do that? So he bows down in shame and remorse before Mother and says finally, Mother, I want nothing but knowledge and devotion. So this is the first great turning point in Swami Vivekananda's life, in which he first meets his divine mother and accepts her. And Sri Ramakrishna is thrilled. Of course, Narendra then goes back to Ramakrishna and says, no, you've done this. You have to do something for my family. What can I do? It looks like you couldn't utter that prayer. It looks like you're not destined to have any worldly prosperity. But on twisting his arm, finally, Sri Ramakrishna said, granted the boon, all right, your people at home will not lack for the very basic food and clothing. That much they will have. And so that boon was also granted. They didn't starve to death. They had the simplest food, simplest rice and cloth, as the same as he said. So that night, Narendra spent the whole night in ecstasy singing that beautiful song to the Divine Mother, Ma Tvang Hitara, Mother, thou art our sole Redeemer. Thou, the support of the three gunas, higher than the Most High. Thou art compassionate, I know, who takest away our bitter grief. And this song describes the mother as in everything. O Mother, you are in the earth, you are in the water, you lie at the very root of all. You are in me, in every creature. You dwell. And though you have a form, yet also you are the formless reality. So it's a very powerful song. Narendra asked Sri Ramakrishna to teach him a song, so he taught him this song, and he spent the whole night singing it. So what happened that night actually? Swami Vivekananda revealed a little bit more in a conversation with his disciple, Irish disciple, Sister Nivedita, on May 27th, 1899. So he says to Nivedita, how I used to hate Kali and all her ways. That was my 6 years' fight, because I would not accept Kali. For a long time, he wouldn't accept Kali, and so he and his master had this kind of tension between them, or this tussling. And then Nivedita asks, but now you have accepted her specially, have you not, Swami? Swamiji answers, I had to. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa dedicated me to her. And you know, I believe that she guides me in every little thing I do, and just does what she likes with me. Yet I fought so long. I loved the man, you see, and that held me. I thought him the purest man I had ever seen, and I knew that he loved me as my own father and mother had not power to do. His greatness had not dawned on me then. That was afterwards, when I had given him. At that time, I thought him simply a brain-sick baby, always seeing visions and things. I hated it, and then I had to accept her too. So it's fascinating to see how he describes this coming to Mother, that it was against his will, as it were. He didn't want to accept Mother, and yet that night, that fateful night, when he entered the temple, he had no choice. And Nivedita then asks him, won't you tell me what made you do that, Swami? What broke all your opposition down? And here we don't really know what happened. He replies, no, that will die with me. I had great misfortunes at that time, you know. My father died and so on. And she saw her opportunity to make a slave of me. They were her very words, to make a slave of you. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa made me over to her. Curious, he only lived 2 years after doing that. And most of that time he was suffering. So it seems that Narendranath heard the mother's voice, and she told him, I make a slave of you. But the details, Swamiji wasn't willing to divulge. But interesting, the mother saw her opportunity. She saw her opportunity to make a slave of this boy, and she did. Ko va dharma kimakritam ka kapala lekha Kim va drishta phalamihasti yam vinabho Ichha pashair niyamita niyama swatantraihi Yasya netri bhavatu sa sharanam mamadya. This is the third verse of the Amba Stotram. Without her, where is virtue? Where vice? Where is destiny? The writing on the forehead. Without her, where is action? Where the fruit of action? May she, the cords of whose sovereign will control all laws, may she, the primal one, shelter me everlastingly. In this understanding of the mother as the all, as supporting both virtue and vice, without her, where is destiny? Where is anything? Where is action? Where is karma? Where is anything without her? Her will is supreme and all-powerful. So what can I do? I have no other refuge. She alone is my refuge. So the second turning point, there are three. The second turning point in Vivekananda's relationship with the Divine Mother occurred just a few days before Sri Ramakrishna's death. It's probably a year to 2 years after this first incident. And Swami Vivekananda revealed much later in 1901 what happened. He was speaking with his disciple Sharat Chandra Chakravarti, and those wonderful conversations which he recorded. Swamiji was clearly tired. He was exhausted. And Sharat Chandra asked him to take a sabbatical of sorts. Take rest. Just rest and recover your health. And Swamiji replied to him, "Am I able to sit quiet, my son? 2 or 3 days before Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, she, whom he used to call Kali, entered this body. It is she who takes me here and there and makes me work, without letting me remain quiet or allowing me to look to my personal comforts." The disciple was a doubting type, so he asked Swamiji, "Are you speaking metaphorically about that?" And Swamiji says, "Oh no. 2 or 3 days before his leaving the body, he called me to his side and asking me to sit before him, looked steadfastly at me and entered into samadhi, entered into ecstasy. Then I really felt that a subtle force, like an electric shock, was entering my body. In a little while, I also lost outward consciousness and sat motionless. How long I stayed in that condition, I do not remember. When consciousness returned, I found Sri Ramakrishna shedding tears. On questioning him, he answered me affectionately, 'Today, giving you my all, I have become a beggar. With this power, you are to do many works for the world's good before you will return.' And then Swamiji says, 'It seems to me that it is this power that makes me work and work, whirling me, as it were, in its vortex. This body is not made for sitting idle.' So it was in August of 1886 that Swami Vivekananda's connection to the Divine Mother was cemented in such a powerful way that actually he felt that the Divine Mother entered into him and took complete control over his life. This is remarkable, because when we think of Vivekananda, we think of the powerful orator, the powerful teacher of Vedanta, who came to the West and broke down the negative ideas of religion and the negative ideas about India and Hinduism, and proclaimed the divinity of the soul and the harmony of religions, and taught the 4 yogas. And yet here he's revealing that it's Mother who's doing everything. He is only a child of Mother. He's utterly dedicated to Divine Mother. But if that's the case, why did he keep it a secret? Why didn't he tell people about it? Why didn't he proclaim the worship of Divine Mother from the platform of the Parliament of Religions? Swamiji had a message. And he also had his personal spiritual attitude. And in a letter he wrote to Mary Hale on 17th June 1900, he explains to her, Kali worship is not a necessary step in any religion. The Upanishads teach us all there is of religion. Kali worship is my special fad. So he calls it his fad. Unique, just special to him. He didn't want that, he apparently didn't feel that it was something for everyone. It was just for him. You never heard me preach of it or read of my preaching it in India. I only preach what is good for universal humanity. If there is any curious method which applies entirely to me, I keep it a secret, and there it ends. I must not explain to you what Kali worship is, as I never taught it to anybody. So as I understand it, Swamiji was conscious of his role as a world teacher. And in that role, he was to broadcast principles, not personalities, to preach only that which would invigorate and inspire all humanity. And Kali worship may invigorate and inspire me personally, but I can think that the masses of humanity, most people would be a little put off by Mother Kali. Something about that severed head, you know? People get shocked. So he goes on in that letter to Mary Hale. He says, religion is that which does not depend upon books or teachers or prophets or saviors, and that which does not make us dependent in this or in any other lives upon others. In this sense, Advaitism of the Upanishads is the only religion. So that's really what he preached, is the Advaita Vedanta. But he goes on to say, saviors, books, prophets, ceremonials, etc. have their places. They may help many, as Kali worship helps me in my secular work. They are welcome. He underlined secular work. Interesting. He felt that what this secular work is, I'm not sure. Wasn't it all spiritual work? Maybe he's referring to the founding of the organization and raising funds for helping the poor in India. Perhaps that's what he meant by secular work. And evidently, Swamiji was responding to a question Mary Hale must have asked him about Kali. And Kali was the target of missionaries. They would point out, they would describe Kali and say, see these Hindus, these heathens, they worship this kind of a god. So Vivekananda did not discuss Mother Kali publicly, obviously. We do find a fascinating passage in the Complete Works, which is in some notes Swamiji jotted down, apparently for a book that he was thinking of writing, which he never wrote. But this little note is fascinating to me. He equates, he introduces the idea of Satchit Ananda, which I think we Vedanta students at least are all familiar with, the idea of the absolute reality being of the very nature of Sat, or existence, Chit, or consciousness, and Ananda, or bliss. Yes, our true nature is bliss. So in this section, he equates Satchit Ananda, when conceived of as the creator, the ruler, and the dissolver of this universe, its material as well as its efficient cause. In other words, as the divine, he equates it with energy, love, and beauty. And this he calls mother. So this was a new revelation when I read it, that the Sat, the existence, he equates it through the mists of time and space, when we perceive the Sat, we perceive it as Shakti, as power, as energy. And the Chit, the consciousness, we experience as love. And the Ananda, usually I think of Ananda as being love, but actually says Ananda is beauty, that bewitching beauty of the divine, which is the power of attraction. I'll read just a little of that note. This highest energy, love, beauty is a person, an individual, the infinite mother of this universe. The God of gods, the Lord of lords, omnipresent, yet separate from the universe. The soul of souls, yet separate from every soul. The mother of this universe, because she has produced it. The ruler, because she guides it with the greatest love, and in the long run brings everything back to herself. Through her command, the sun and the moon shine, the clouds rain, and death stalks upon the earth. It's referring there to Taittiriya Upanishad. So it's a beautiful conception of the Divine Mother as the all. And everything is happening according to her will. And finally, she guides it with the greatest love, and in the long run brings everything back to herself. This reminds me of what Swami Vivekananda revealed. He gave a lot of revelations to Sister Nivedita, which we are fortunate that Josephine MacLeod, when they were all at Ridgely Manor, Josephine MacLeod came out here to California. And so Nivedita was writing to Josephine MacLeod all the things that Swamiji was telling them while she was absent. And this is another one of those conversations that he describes one of the visions that Sri Ramakrishna had, what he used to have. And he apparently, Swamiji used to spend hours under the banyan tree at Dakshineshwar at night, and Sri Ramakrishna would pour his knowledge, his wisdom, his visions, everything into him. So he says that Ramakrishna used to see a long white thread proceeding out of himself. At the end would be a mass of light. Then this mass would open, and within it he would see the mother with a veena, that stringed instrument that Mother Saraswati plays. And then she would begin to play. And as she played, he would see the music turning into birds and animals and worlds and arrange themselves. Then she would stop playing, and they would all disappear again. Then the light would grow less and less distinct, till it was just a luminous mass. Then the string would grow shorter and shorter, and the whole would be absorbed into himself again. So this conception of the mother as giving birth to this universe, and again withdrawing it into her. At the end, as Swami Vivekananda says, at the end, we shall all have to come back home to the arms of the mother. A bit of mother, a drop was Krishna. Another was Buddha. Another was Christ. Worship her if you want love and wisdom. This is at Thousand Island Park, 1895. The Jnani says, I will uncover God by force. But the dualist says, I will uncover God by praying to Mother, begging her to open the door to which she alone has the key. She quickly answers prayer. So this is some of the hints that Vivekananda gave to his disciples at Thousand Island Park. So Nivedita asks him, I always look upon Sri Ramakrishna as an incarnation of Kali. Isn't that what the future will call him? And Swamiji replies, yes, I think there's no doubt that Kali worked up the body of Ramakrishna for her own ends. You see, Margot, I cannot but believe that there is somewhere a great power that thinks of itself as feminine and called Kali and the mother. And I believe in Brahman too, that there is nothing but Brahman ever. But you see, it's always like that. It's the multitude of cells in the body that make up the person, the many brain centers that produce the one consciousness. So on the one hand, there is only Brahman, the one without a second. And yet, there is also all this manifestation, all the different deities, and there is the Divine Mother, a power that thinks of itself as feminine and called Kali. let's now examine the third turning point in Swami Vivekananda's life regarding his relationship with Divine Mother. It was 1898. He was traveling with Sister Nivedita and Josephine MacLeod and Sarah Bull, three of his closest disciples, although Josephine MacLeod called herself only his friend. We can say with his friend and two disciples. And they were traveling in the Himalayas. They went to Kashmir, and Swami Vivekananda made the pilgrimage to Amarnath, the great cave temple of Shiva high in the mountains, where the image is made of ice, naturally formed. And it's a tremendously austere pilgrimage, and Vivekananda brought Nivedita along with him. And when he reached the cave temple, he received the boon from Shiva not to leave his body until he himself should do so. That is Amar. So he was full of Shiva, full of the idea of the absolute, the unchanging, the infinite consciousness and bliss of Shiva. But then Nivedita noticed that gradually, almost imperceptibly, but gradually, day by day, his attention was shifting. When he came back from that experience, his attention began to shift from Shiva again to Mother. And he would be singing the songs of Ram Prasad, as if, she writes, to saturate his own mind with the conception of himself as a child. And he revealed that wherever he turned, he was conscious of the presence of the Mother as if she were a person in the room. That Mother is a person in the room with me. And then his absorption in the thought of Mother became very intense. And let me read what Nivedita writes. She says, he seemed to fasten his whole attention on the dark, the painful, and the inscrutable in the world, with the determination to reach by this particular road the one behind phenomena. The worship of the terrible now became his whole cry. Illness or pain would always draw forth the reminder that she is the organ, she is the pain, and she is the giver of pain. Kali, Kali, Kali. In the poem that we've been reading verses from, she is the dispenser both of pleasure and pain. So what about that? If she is the all, then even pain and suffering are within her domain. How do we explain that? So it seems that Swami Vivekananda really wanted to understand that and dove into the terrible. And of course, the result was this tremendous poem, Kali the Mother, where he describes Mother as death herself, the destroyer, destroying worlds with her shaking steps. And after writing that poem, he went for an intense week of tapasya, of intense spiritual disciplines, at Kshir Bhavani, a mountain temple dedicated to Divine Mother Bhavani, where the votaries offer kshir, or thickened milk. And in November of 1898, after returning from that experience, he was talking about it with his disciple Sharatchandra Chakravarti. And one day, during his puja, the thought arose in his mind, Mother Bhavani has been manifesting her presence here for untold years. Foreign invaders came and destroyed her temple, yet the people of the place did nothing to protect her. Okay, we're going to read that again. So the temple, temple of Mother Kshirvani was dilapidated. It had been destroyed by foreign invaders. And so Swamiji, he was doing puja every day, intense puja and homa and all these things. And this thought crossed his mind. Mother Bhavani has been manifesting her presence here for untold years. Foreign invaders came and destroyed her temple. Yet the people of the place did nothing to protect her. Alas, if I had been alive, I could never have borne it silently. And his mind sank into a state of deep sorrow and anguish thinking about this. And then he clearly heard the voice of the mother, overpowering voice. She said, "It was according to my desire, my will, that the invaders destroyed this temple. It is my desire that I should live in a dilapidated temple. Otherwise, can I not immediately erect a 7-storied temple of gold here if I like? What can you do? Shall I protect you, or shall you protect me?" And then Swamiji tells Sharat Chandra, "Since hearing that divine voice, I cherish no more plans. The idea of building mutts, that means building monasteries, etc., I have given up. As Mother wills, so it will be." So this was clearly another little tear in the veil that is obscuring Swami Vivekananda from remembering who he is. Sri Ramakrishna had said, the mother has kept a veil over his eyes so that he forgets who he is, but it's very thin. It may be rent asunder at any moment, and when he knows, he will not remain here. He will give up his body in samadhi. So this is the veil getting torn a little thinner. When the mother herself spoke to him, telling him, "It's my desire that this temple was destroyed. Everything happens according to my will. Are you going to protect me? I am the infinite mother of the universe. You're going to protect me? Or do I protect you?" And the disciple, skeptic that he was, he remembers that Swamiji had told to him earlier that when people hear voices and see dreams, they're actually projections of their minds. It's just a projection of your mind from the Advaitic standpoint. And the disciple was a staunch Advaitin. So the disciple thinks, didn't he one day tell me that whatever I saw and heard was but the echo of the Atman within me, that there is nothing outside? So he said, "Sir, you used to say that divine voices are but the echo of our inward thoughts and feelings." Swamiji became very grave, and he said, "Whether it be internal or external, if you actually hear with your ears such a disembodied voice as I have done, can you deny it and call it false? Divine voices are actually heard, just as you and I are talking." So Nivedita describes how he returned to their houseboat in Srinagar after this experience. She writes, "He entered our houseboat a transfigured presence and silently passed from one to another, blessing us and putting marigolds on our heads. I offered them to Mother," he said at last, as he ended by handing the garland to one of us. Then he sat down. "No more Hari Om. It is all Mother now," he said with a smile. We all sat silent. Had we tried to speak, we should have failed, so tense was the spot with something that stilled thought. He opened his lips again. "All my patriotism is gone. Everything is gone. Now it's only Mother, Mother." We can see how he's completely transformed by this experience. "I have been very wrong," he said simply after another pause. "Mother said to me, 'What, even if unbelievers should enter my temples and defile my images? What is that to you? Do you protect me, or do I protect you? So there is no more patriotism. I am only a little child.'" And we see that after this, he had set his work in motion. He had founded the Ramakrishna order. He had founded the monastery. He had started the work of the Ramakrishna mission had started, and he had published his teachings in the 4 yogas with the help of Goodwin. And now everything became just dessert, as it were. It was just playing with Mother after this. It's all Mother. And this through focusing on the terrible. He said, it all came true, every word of it. Who dares misery love, dance in destruction's dance, and hug the form of death? To him the Mother does indeed come. I have proved it, for I have hugged the form of death. So this embracing of the terrible if we can truly accept that, yes, in this world there is the good and the blessed and also the terrible, and that it all comes from the mother, it brings a tremendous fearlessness. It brings a tremendous surrender. It brings us face to face with the mother. In this world, time devours all our hopes, all our joys, our sorrows and tears, all our dreams and fears, all are devoured by time. Kali is the great devourer, crushing out entire worlds with every shaking step. So Vivekananda gives us another image in his long Bengali poem on Divine Mother. I'll just read the last two stanzas in translation. Awake, O hero, forsake dreams. Death stands at your head. Does fear behoove thee? This world full of sorrow is the body of God. His temple the abode of ghouls in the midst of funeral pyres. His worship perpetual battle, albeit always in defeat. Fear not. Let all desires, self, fame, go. The heart be turned into a burning ground, and may Shama dance there. Shama, Mother Kali. How beautiful this image, to turn our heart into a cremation ground. Mother Kali is said to dwell in the cremation ground. And what is burned in cremation ground? Corpses. In our minds, how many desires, how many dreams. We live on dreams, the dream of future happiness just as soon as we can get the right house and the right spouse and the right job and the right boss and the right spouse for our kids, and then we shall be all right, then we shall be happy. What a bondage. These are all dreams. They are all corpses. Can we sacrifice them? Let the mother crush them under her feet. Then the mother comes. Can we light a funeral pyre in our heart and burn all these corpses there? Are all the corpses of our desires, our hankering for name and fame, lust and gold? In that desolation, there the mother comes and dances. This is the worship of the terrible, or at least the acceptance of the terrible. And when we can truly do that, the mother comes. And it brings a tremendous freedom, a boldness, a fearlessness, a great dispassion, a vairagya, detachment. No more will we be attracted by the false glitter of this world. We want that. We want her who is the source. Nivedita writes that Vivekananda would always, when asked to explain the image of Kali, speak of it as the book of experience, in which the soul turns page after page, only to find that there is nothing in it after all. And this, to my own mind, Nivedita's own mind, is the final explanation. Kali, the mother, is to be the worship of the Indian future. In her name will her sons find it possible to sound many experiences to their depths, and yet, in the end, their hearts will return to the ancient wisdom, and each person will know, when his hour comes, that all his life was but as a dream. On July 4, 1902, the day Vivekananda had selected to give up his body, he locked himself in the shrine to Sri Ramakrishna, for 3 hours in the morning, from 8 to 11 a.m. He closed all the shutters, closed the doors. July, it must have been terribly hot, but he closed all the doors. And in that dark shrine, what transpired, we do not know. But when he came out, walking down the steps to the courtyard, he was singing a famous song to Divine Mother, a Shyama Sangeet song composed by the poet mystic Kamalakanta. Shyama ma ki amar kalore. Is my mother Shyama really black? The naked one of blackest hue, lights the lotus of the heart. People say Kali is black, but my heart does not agree. She appears sometimes white, sometimes yellow, sometimes blue, sometimes red. I am unable to understand her, though my whole life has passed in trying. Sometimes Purusha, sometimes Prakriti, sometimes she takes the form of the void. Striving to know her thus, Kamalakanta has simply become mad. It's quite possibly the last song that Swami Vivekananda sung in this world. The last words of the song, Kamalakanta has simply become mad, trying to understand who is Mother Kali. And he requested the brethren to make arrangements for performing Kali Puja the next day. And then, of course, we know how he laid down his body in Mahasamadhi that evening in his room. And the brethren could not obviously do Kali Puja the next day. They were stricken with grief at his departure, and they had his cremation and all of that. But they did perform the worship about a month later, according to his desire. So this was his final offering. Did he feel that his offering was complete? It must be. Was he again saying, I come, Mother, I come in thy warm bosom, floating wheresoever thou takest me? Perhaps we can get a little more hint of his mood from these closing verses of the Ambastotram, the last 3 verses. Mitre shatrau tva vishamam tava padmanetram swasthe dusthe tva vitatham tava hastapatah mrityu chaya tava daya tvamritam cha matah Mamam munchantu parame shubhadrishtayaste. To friend and foe thy lotus eyes are even. Unfortunate and unfortunate thou layest thy hand alike. Deathlessness and the shadow of death are equally thy mercy. O Mother, O Supreme One, may thy gracious glances never forsake me. Kvamba sarva kwa grinanam mama hina buddhe dhartun dorbhyamiva matir jagadeka dhatri Shri Sanchintyam Sucharanam Abhaya Pratishtham Seva Sarir Abhinutam Sharanam Prapadye. Who is the Mother, the All, and where the praise of one so foolish as I? It is as if I desired to seize with my hands the sole sustainer of the universe. So, at her blessed feet, the abode of fearlessness, meditated on by the very goddess of grace and glory, adored by those devoted to her service, I take refuge. Yamama janma vinayati ati dukkha margai Asam siddhe swakalitayr lalitayr vilasai Yame buddhim suvidadhe satatam dharanyam Samba sarva mamagati sapaleya phaleva. Whether I succeed or fail, she who has ever inspired my understanding on the earth, who, devising sweet, playful ways, has led me since my birth along the most painful paths to perfection. She the Mother, the All, is my refuge. And so may it be for all of us. Next week, our speaker will be Swami Vivekananda. His topic is A Tale of Two Hinduisms. A Tale of Two Hinduisms, next week, Sunday. And we will also have on Monday, that is our Memorial Day, in which we have a retreat. It starts at... No. It goes all day. It's not written on here. We forgot to put it in the bulletin. It starts at, I believe, at 10 in the morning with a group reading of complete works, where we each receive a small portion of the complete works and read it together silently in the temple. And it creates a wonderful atmosphere to have 3-4 dozen people sitting in this temple reading Swami Vivekananda's works. Wonderful atmosphere, and you never know what you're going to get. You come and you're handed something and you start reading. It's amazing. And then there'll be noon worship, some time for meditation, and then lunch is served for everyone. And in the afternoon there will also be a program of songs, chanting, and hearing from you, from the devotees, about your thoughts on Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda will be coordinating that program. So it's a wonderful day to spend in the thought of Swami Vivekananda, Monday, the 26th. We have a number of visiting monks coming. First one will be Swami Shantatmananda, coming from India. He was the head of our Delhi center for a long time. He is now at Gurugram, the head of that center. And in fact, he'll be giving a class on the Thursday the 29th, Lessons from the Holy Mother. So keep an eye out for, Swami Atmarupananda is also coming from France, and he'll be here on the 27th, Tuesday, speaking on our heritage. So we have a number of visiting monks coming, and after that there'll be some other as well. So if this is your first time here, I hope I didn't overwhelm you with Mother Kali, but most welcome to be here. And we'll have refreshments out here, and then I'll go to the living room next to the bookshop shortly afterwards, and we'll have some time for discussion, and look forward to seeing you there and all that. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on Swami Vivekananda and Divine Mother. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From the unreal, lead us to the real. From darkness, lead us unto light. From death, lead us to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace.